This Hello and welcome to the E3 wrap-up. I'm Gillen. Bengt is
coming here, right?
Fresh.
Right on time.
Right on time. Look at that. Pure precision. It's almost like we planned that. Woo! Woo! All right, it is the E3 wrap-up party. Well, E3 live stream wrap-up, should we say?
Party?
Party.
Did you say party?
I say party.
Wow.
Look, I mean, it is a party with all these lovely goods right in front of us right here. The swag bag has grown overnight. We've got a few lovely choice items. Particular favourites I have to point out, Disney Infinity Marvel Superheroes and Lara Croft Journal after we saw the Crystal Dynamics yesterday for a brief, 20-minute hands-on with Lara Croft and the Temple of Osiris. Yes? Fantastic.
Very excited about that one.
Arcade.
Very excited.
4-player, man. They brought 4-player to the arcade game. Great stuff. Obvious enough, I'm Gillen, this is Bengt. We're here to sign off from Gamereactor Live at Los Angeles, where we've been here all week, talking about E3, seeing E3, talking to people, seeing games, playing hands-on. It's been an intense week of fun, hilarity, and cues.
Absolutely. And then if you're wondering why we're beat, it's only because we've been to E3 for 4 days. Nothing else.
That's exactly the reason why we look so beat and looks like we've just showered a few minutes ago. Anyway, obviously this will be a discussion about what we have seen at E3, an overview of the show, personal highlights, personal favourites, best of show, weirdest things. Weirdest things. Yeah. I'm actually, as I said that, I was like, what's the weirdest thing I've seen? I think the weirdest thing I've seen, though, I've always brought a smile to my face. I'm not too sure any of you guys play Persona at all. No? So Persona's that JRPG, and I'm playing through Persona 4 Golden on PS Vita at the moment. Great game. But there's a character in it called Teddy, who you might have seen from the E3 lanyards we've had all week. He's just a big bear, you know, and I still don't know exactly what he is. I'm not that far on in the story. But there's been a guy who spent all week at the Atlas stand dressed as Teddy, just taking photographs and everything like that. And I have to give a shout out to that guy, respect, because that show floor was hot. That thing must have been sweaty at 4 days, but he looked like having a good time, and I was very happy. And everybody that saw him, everybody that got a photograph with him, smile on the face.
It's so funny because the third day at E3, the Thursday is a little bit more quiet. There's not as many people. People are already leaving, but the air conditioning is cranked up the same level as all the other days, even more perhaps if they've been cold.
Yeah,
there were some places where it's like, I can't stay here. It's too cold.
You have had the mix of temperatures over the course of E3.
Absolutely. If you don't get a cold from E3, you don't get a cold.
Yeah.
Period.
That was actually one of the best hand-me-outs. So whenever you go and see a publisher, whenever you go to a booth, usually 9 times out of 10, they've got some swag for you when you leave. And mainly it's T-shirts, okay? Mediums run out within about the first hour of the first day. So
and then it's just 10 size.
Yeah, it's like triple XL. In fact, this awesome Watch Dogs T-shirt, if you can see that, is one of the last few mediums. Metal Gear D. Metal Gear.
You just said Watch Dogs.
Did I say Watch Dogs? Sorry, Diamond Dogs. That's how. No, God. Yeah, sorry. Thank God I didn't say that during the interview. I actually, no way. I was worried about going into Call of Duty and saying Advanced Warfighter.
Yeah.
I didn't, but I actually told them that I was worried about saying that. Didn't go down well. So I should have just shut the hell up.
Frontline? Hardline?
Hardline, frontline. Oh God, yeah. Yes. Anyway, my story. Yes, medium Diamond Dogs from Metal Gear Solid 5. But I think on the second day, I genuinely can't remember which booth it was. Came out and they give us little hand sanitizers. You know, the little little things. And that is the most perfect thing because yes, the amount of handshaking you do.
I need to wake up now.
Sounding like the Valkyries just came in. Gods?
At least I want to be here 5 minutes after the stream or something.
I love you said that for that. But anyway, yes, the amount of handshaking we do, developers do, everybody on that show floor has shaken maybe about, I'm going to say about 1,000 hands by the end of E3. And because you said, getting a cold is pretty much one of those things you're going to walk away from E3 with.
Yeah, it's one of those things that has happened over the last 10 years. These days, there's hand sanitizers everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to get your hand sanitized, it's there. 10 years ago, I would not have seen a single one. 5 years ago, maybe one or two. Now it's everywhere. Yeah.
See, we're getting a little bit more healthy. We're learning. We're being sanitized as a society. I can't believe I got that rolled out without tripping over my own tongue. But yes, yesterday was the official end of E3 wrap up. As Ben said, a little bit quieter during the day, and most people head off. Myself, you actually did turn up just before we finished the end of the interview, was Pillars of Eternity.
Yes.
And the interview was cut short slightly because the announcer takes great glee in coming over the tannoy at 5 o'clock and just going, look, it's over, it's finished, get the hell out. And we're at the concourse hall. So it's a little constructed booth in one corner of this big massive room, no roof on that, so you're pretty much, echoing everywhere. And as soon as that announcement came out, all you heard was this massive ripple of woohoo from across the way, because all these poor developers that have been tied and stuck in these rooms for 3 days can escape and go and get some drinks.
Yeah, because we're really blessed at E3. We can walk around everywhere, see pretty much everyone. Whereas developers, they got an hour to go around and see things.
Yeah.
The rest of the time they're in their booth, locked down, doing demos of their game over and over and over again. So they're kind of happy when it ends.
Yeah, I mean, we talked in the general sort of roll up to each interview we do. There's general chit chat and stuff, and every single developer I talked to basically said, no, not a chance, didn't see anything. Really wanted to. Talked to the Respawn guys yesterday. Their big focus was, if they could, they wanted to go and play Evolve.
Yeah.
They were just really, and the shame was it was like a stone's throw away from their booth, but they were locked in with us poor cads the entire 3 days.
Gotta say, a lot of people said that. Julian Garrity on the crew team also mentioned Evolve as the one that we met up with him when Nick was out chasing his gameplay clip from Far Cry 4.
God, yes.
That he finally got, so that's coming up soonish.
If we find the E6.
Oh, what, the Far Cry thing? Yeah.
Coming up soonish. Nick's playthrough of the single player demo.
Holy, really, really polished.
Yes.
The man. This is a reason why the man is the best first person player on our team. But yeah, that was very much though. I did hear the Respawn guys. This is a little segue. Respawn guys did get over to see Battlecry. I saw Bethesda PR tweeted that yesterday. Said he was completely shocked. He just looked up last thing of the day. Looked up. Respawn team just appeared. Went, yeah, can we play? It's like, yeah, you go ahead. But the day ended with people exiting. I love excavating though. I'm thinking Lara Croft already. Exiting E3, but that's not how the day started. What about you, Ben? Where did you begin your wonderful
I began
Thursday?
my journey with Project Morpheus. So nice place to start out. A lot of what we come out with from E3, of course, is VR. We get to try a lot of VR games, and it's just got that immediate thing. It hits us obviously in highlight. Played Project Morpheus. I tried the deep demo. It's one of those little bit older demos. Basically, you're locked inside of a cage, and you're going on the water, ocean, and there's a shark. Right. That's what happens, and the shark attacks your cage, and you. Oh, apparently, I moved around a little bit during that demo, so that's a good sign that I was immersed. A little bit blurry, but I think that it's more down to the fact that I didn't have it properly on. I was moving around a bit, and it, obviously, at a demo on a show floor, sometimes they don't lock it down as much as they should. Of course, as soon as it's a little bit off, it gets blurry. So
what's this? Because unfortunately I missed out on Morpheus when I tried going around in the afternoon. Queues were absolutely massive, and they have been the entire E3. So what's the actual kit, the actual helmet itself? So just sort of like the same sort of Velcro straps that.
It's not the Velcro straps. It's got some sort of plastic setup but it feels as tight as the Oculus Rift. I gotta say, like I'm not an expert in these things, but it's very much the same experience you're getting from Morpheus and Oculus Rift. It's not really a tremendous difference in that sense. Yeah. So they're pretty much born out of the same concept, I would say. Yeah.
I did. There's a few VR interviews I did over the course of E3, and that obviously was a question that came up because last time it was only Oculus. Now we've got these two kits, and most devs were coming back going, "Look, yeah, pretty much the same." Yeah. You know, I mean, okay, so it's really a design thing, and obviously platform as well. But was that two Move controllers as well? I saw a couple of those.
No, this was only I held a DualShock 4 and I could see my arm moving around. You could shoot a flare gun, but really it didn't do anything to anything. It's more like an exploration thing. You're in this demo, so obviously, I mean, that basically Sony showed off a couple of things that were sort of interactive, like the Luch thing and the one you played. What was that? Let's get Nick on here.
Shift up, Nicky boy. You want to talk some words now on screen?
Yeah, I played one where you were a knight. I actually want to say I was walking with Gillen.
Yeah, we have to tell Nick's story because Nick has told this story like 10 times already. Yeah. Go for it.
So let's get it on record. So I was with Gillen for Nintendo, and they were like, no interviews. All right, I'll go do something else. I walked out, wanted to go through the Sony booth to see what was there. I actually really wanted a photo with Octodad.
All right.
Didn't get that. Got a photo of him later. But I walked through it, and I was like, is this Morpheus here? Because there was like no people, and there was a sign that said the line starts around the corner. So I thought it was like down there. And then I looked, and then there was one guy in line. I was like, all right, I'll do this now. Went in, played the night demo, and when I came out, there were like at least 50 people in line, and there was the rest of the time walked there with Gillen. So I just hit that like magic moment
just between.
There's no line. But yeah, I played one where you were a knight. You had two Move controllers, one for each hand, of course, and you could then press the trigger, and that would close the hand. So in the beginning, you can close, and then you can punch. And then the guy next to you would tell you, oh, now look left. First the thing look around, then look left, and there would appear swords. You would take your hand, and if you press the trigger, you would grab on the sword, and you could swing around, and there's a dummy you could attack, so you could chop off his head, and after a little time it would respawn. And then a little bit into it, you would get a Morning Star. A little bit later, you get a crossbow, so you'd get different weapons, and then things would appear and would end with a dragon coming at you, which was very much a tech demo, but it was very cool. I started laughing halfway through because it was so weird just being in this world and you could just chop heads off, and it was super, super fun. But yeah, I also got to try the VR, the Eve Valkyrie thing.
We made a point of stopping off there,
which was awesome. So after that, I very much agree that it's very much the same tech. The way it's put on your head is different, and it looks different, but the experience is very much the same. The main difference is what game you're playing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it sort of fits in with those type of games where you're sitting down in a cockpit, say.
And that's I think the Valkyrie one is some of the best stuff I've ever tried.
Oculus, with Morpheus, where's the cables? Because with Oculus, it's sort of like to the side.
I actually don't remember. I think it's something like here as well.
Yeah, because we're talking about this as well. If they're implementing this technology at home, the idea is what they're going to do with the cables. They did, developers said about, they expect like a wireless version of the kit at some point.
They sort of need that. The thing I will say about the Morpheus one, it's harder to get in and out of. Yeah. Like it's
a little bit more about,
because the Oculus is the straps it is, where you can just sort of put it on. Yeah. The other one is sort of plastic, where you need to like tighten it like this or something. Yeah. It feels tighter, which I like when you have it on. But I feel like the Oculus could move a little bit.
Yeah, it sort of shakes a little bit.
I guess yours wasn't tight enough because mine was super like tight, and I could go like this, and it would just like be super stuck on.
It needs to hurt a little bit.
Yeah. So that was really cool. But yeah, too many wires with that and headphones.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yes, the Oculus is more like once you got it set for yourself at home, you'll get it on, and it's the way it should be. With the Morpheus, it's more like you got to tighten it every time.
Yeah, but also the Oculus, I feel like if I would jump with that, it would move around. It wasn't that tight.
Okay.
Where the Morpheus, that's how I got it on was.
Is it the weight thing? Because obviously the Oculus is all the weight's
Very
there.
top heavy, yeah.
Yeah. So with Morpheus, what are we talking here?
I think it's more that because it's the. I don't know what that's called. The straps that are in the.
I think I know what you mean. The plastic straps.
Yeah.
And thing
where the Oculus is,
that Velcro.
That can move a little bit more.
Yeah, I think you need to get that really tight, but at the same time, once you have it on well, you can have that setting and you can do it over and over.
But when I was done with Eve, I could take that off, where the Morpheus I needed help with.
Yeah.
And also I was holding 2 move controls and you're standing up, so I was like...
Okay, so I need someone come here. All the demos, obviously enough, have people, helpers there. I mean, for Valkyrie, it was you sit down, here, put on Oculus, do
so
not
there's
touch...
a place to put the headphones on. When you're standing up, you're like, well, what do I do now? And then I got a photo, so it's like handing my phone to this guy. And then I'm just like, take a photo of me. I'm just standing here.
I have some great photographs of you playing Valkyrie while you were doing it. I was sitting there snapping away. But I think we talked in the stream yesterday or a couple of days ago about this, far exceeding anybody's budget to be able to afford. But with that sort of like, I think that was my 3rd play of Valkyrie with this. I just decided not to do any of the dogfighting. I just sort of flew about and just enjoyed the experience, So I was just sitting there looking about. And I think I would, even if it was like, 500, even $1,000 to sink into that, to get the whole PC kit, get Oculus, get Eve, I would do it, because I can imagine that for me, the occasional evening, even a couple of times over an evening, sitting there and just immersing myself in that experience, I can completely love. I didn't get playing Elite with the headset, but even from just on a normal computer screen. And the idea, obviously, Valkyrie's based at the moment as a little 3-minute dogfight from the demo we played. They're looking to expand that, but they're really sort of feeling their way at the moment. Elite's a lot more about exploration, and I could just see myself sitting in there, just traveling.
If they make a Star Wars game like that, as I said after the demo, I will pay whatever it takes. I need that. X-Wing versus TIE Fighter.
Obviously nothing's been said, but I guarantee you they have to be doing an
X-Wing versus TIE Fighter game.
I don't remember ever getting... it's that feeling I remember having when I was 8 or something and watching Star Wars, and I was like, flying in the X-Wing, it's that feeling you get.
That makes more sense,
including motion sickness.
I know people have the setups to do like the driving sims and stuff like that, and fair enough. None of us are going to be able to afford a Ferrari in our lifetime, and that gives you that sort of sense of driving. Well, maybe for this guy, but with space sims, with that sort of fantasy element, this is always about. I mean, that's why I read fantasy books. That's why I play video games. I want that sense of immersion in a world I can't get to normally. So Oculus, Morpheus, with a sci-fi based sort of like sim, I am totally all of that. We're going to see worlds, we're going to have experiences we will never see normally, and I'm totally behind that. So this year the technology has convinced me, and the advances that developers have made with the technology have convinced me further to go, I would put money into this.
Yeah, I'm also very positive that Sony has done it because they have their own studios. So just like even though the Vita is not the greatest success, not right now, they can choose to say we still want to do video games. So when they push something like Morpheus now, they're going to say to some of their studios, you need to make a game for this. And I think that's...
Do you think it'll be one of those things? I mean, like with Rare and Kinect, I always felt they were very much forced into those games, sort of like...
No, I think the developers are very much keen to do VR, so I think it's more like a liberating sense that, hey, you guys can do VR, we'll pay for it. It's like not a lot of AAA development outside of sort of first party would be able to do that, so I think they're all very positive about it.
I like it because that's the idea that Sony would turn around and go, look, we have this kit, if you don't want to do it, fine, but
here it is.
And that sort of...
And they would get more than enough, I think, from that. I think there's some studios that they probably said, hey, don't do that. You need to focus on something else. It's more that thing. So
they're probably telling Naughty Dog, hey, can we just get an Uncharted now? You don't need to...
You don't need to include Morpheus support.
But we... cutting off that because I think a lot of our conversation over this E3 is being VR heavy.
Yes.
Let's talk, Nick, while you're sitting on the couch, let's talk about how your day was. Obviously, we were swapping cameramen and people. How was your day?
Well,
yesterday?
what did I do? I don't remember. It's quite a blur.
I want to talk about Tomb Raider.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about
played
that.
it. Yeah.
So yes, the sequel to Lara Croft and the Guardians or Guardian of Light, Guardians of Light was a big surprise reveal on Monday. And sort of got lost amidst the rise of the Tomb Raider announcement.
Yesterday morning.
But we freed up some time while we were at Square Enix, and we managed to get ourselves into the room to talk to Crystal Dynamics. Almost said Crystal Meth there. Crystal Dynamics, if they ever want to do the post-Watershed game, they just call themselves Crystal Meth. And we got in, sat down, and what we thought was basically just going to be obviously a presentation, because when your time's so tight in E3, people usually do like a 5-10 minute just brief look. Here's here's the points, here's the facts, boom, interview, and out. We sat down on a couch and actually played like a good chunk of game.
Yeah, we started out 2-player.
Two-player.
To see how the game works, like it did last one, and then later we.
A 4-player. Yeah, it was basically they started explaining the controls to me, and I was like 2 steps ahead of them. They just went, "Oh, Guardian of Light player. We'll just leave you to it."
Yeah.
And just chuck through. So it's that same viewpoint. It's the same sort of arcade feel. It's the older classic sort of Lara Croft look. You still got the sort of like dual stick control. You still got the guns. You still got the grappling hook to basically swing your way across things, pull up friends, because it's a very co-op driven game. This time you've got Lara, another archaeologist, and two Egyptian like not gods but priests or priestesses. Basically, they've been trapped in this temple, so the game starts with you going in, awakening them, and then this big ass evil Egyptian god is trying to chase you and kill you.
Yeah. So one of the very nice things about Guardian of Light that I felt was the fact that it adapted whether you're 1-player or 2-player, and sort of the puzzles.
And it does this as well.
It does exactly the same. They demoed a particular point where you enter a room and there's
there's pressure plates.
Yeah, pressure plates. So square room, you do it 1-player. There's 1 pressure plate, 2, 3, 4 throw. And I wasn't quite sure about. I'm assuming that enemies do scale. I think they said.
Yeah,
that.
they said they did that.
They scale depending on how many players.
Both,
so yeah, there'll be all things.
I think it's both amount, but also how tough they are.
Yeah.
So do the different characters have different? Because that's one of the things with the first one. Lara Croft could do certain things. Guardian of Light could do certain things, and when you were playing alone, you sort of had the Guardian of Light staff.
With this, you've got archaeologists have the grappling hook, guns. Though actually, to be fair, even the Egyptian guys had guns as well.
They could pick up guns.
They could pick up guns. The Egyptians have like a staff, so it's like a laser blast out, the direct, and they also have a shield, a sphere, and it doubles up. It can actually be used as a protective against arrows. So there's certain sequences where there's traps that the other players will have to hide behind the Egyptians to basically work their way out.
It's blinking.
And then otherwise you can actually use the sphere as a platform to jump up higher.
I don't think the guns were that big of a difference. It was more the Egyptians had that sphere thing, and then the Lara had the grappling hook. That was sort of the two main things you had that were different.
But it's a lovely game, and I love the fact the way you can just sit and play it single player, or there's puzzles.
And the sailors drop in, drop out as well.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a couple of like extra additions. I mean, they've worked on like relic systems and stuff like that. So there's power-ups, upgrades, and everything.
Loot sort of thing where you would get an amulet, and it would be different how rare it would be and stuff.
Yeah, so basically it's like in this tutorial bit, one person picks up a gun, everybody picks up that assault rifle and try. Like after that point, it's everyone for themselves. So there'll be one piece of loot. So you'll kill a load of enemies, loot drop, elbow each other out of the way. And there was a lot of that sort of semi-competitive play. Like we were throwing the grappling hook so people could walk over that line across the way, and the devs were like, drop them.
Yeah, they kept doing it throughout the demo. They told Gillen to drop the dev that played with him, or just screw him over.
No, there was a little. In fact, I would actually say quite a bit of lag with the controls, which was a real shame because the demo ended in this awesome chase sequence, or escape sequence, should I say, running down a corridor with all these different traps and blades. You had to duck, roll, or jump over them. And it looked cool, it was awesome, but because of that lag, it wasn't quite as precise as you'd want, which was a bit of a problem come that particular sequence. And as well, I found it a little bit too chaotic. Now, everybody's color-coded. You've got that sort of circle below your character, but I kept losing where I was
a little bit,
at
but I
times.
think that's the input lag. That was the problem. Because in the beginning, you're like, when I joined in, who's who? And I was like, press the button and no one moved. And then it was that lag. It's like, oh, that's me. But I think if that gets sorted and the game in general gets a little bit more polished, I think it'll be fine. Yeah.
So it's PS4, Xbox One, and PC. No old gen consoles yet, but they did say, we interviewed them directly after, and they said, we'll listen to our fans. The reason we're making this is because there was such a demand. Every interview we've done since Guardian was, are you doing a sequel? He said if they get enough feedback from fans, they will probably see about releasing it actually on 360 and PS3, and I think it should, because it's just a great game. I mean, there's another title that's doing 4-player at this E3, but having that sort of couch play that I know Dory's a big fan of, I think is pretty cool, and it's great to see. Talked to them briefly about Rise of the Tomb Raider, and they were very much like, nah, I'm not saying anything. Tried that. So without spoilers, no, I'm not talking about it.
But check out that interview when that comes out.
Definitely, and check out the game. I think Crystal Dynamics have a really good, strong. I can't think of the word.
Big, strong,
I had four words dropped into my head. None of them were the right ones. They've got a strong
good team.
They're a good team. They've got a strong release schedule coming up. Yeah.
So speaking of that, sort of trying to pry a little bit of information, we had an interview with one of the co-directors of Kingdom Hearts 2.5 remix, return to Kingdom Hearts, the one that puts Kingdom Hearts 2, the final remix with Birth by Sleep and recoded, sort of like a movie. Recoded movie?
Well remembered. I can never remember their subtitles for Kingdom Hearts. It's
no,
insane.
It's very difficult. And I think that is one of the reasons why they're doing these 1.5, 2.5.
It's a bit easier to know.
Because people, I mean, realistically, the handheld title's only really big in Japan. So they want to get fans on track for the third game, and obviously they have a very sort of fleshed out storyline. There's a lot of things that connect the different titles. It's just that very few people, especially in Europe and North America, have gone through all the titles. So this is their chance to sort of get everyone catch up everyone on the story before Kingdom Hearts 3. We did get some tidbits. I should drop the fact that the co-director of he didn't want to talk about new worlds in Kingdom Hearts 3. They're still developing the game. It's not decided. I think they're probably working on some of the new worlds, but he did say that he really enjoyed Frozen. So that may be a little bit of a clue.
Cool.
Might be one of the new worlds in Kingdom Hearts 3.
Great film.
It is that crazy thing though that with Disney owning so many titles now and so many franchises. There's Star Wars and Marvel. It's like,
but I don't think they're going to bring in any of that in Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts is really more rooted in the sort of classic Disney. I don't think.
No, I wouldn't see that happen. But it's crazy the potential of a crossover.
They can do whatever.
Well, we actually we caught up with the Theatre Rhythm guys who were there for Curtain Call, which is the sequel, 3DS sequel to that awesome sort of music game. And what I completely missed this. Same thing with Lara Croft. We went into the room to interview them, and across the way from the Curtain Call poster was Final Fantasy VII G-Bike. And I completely like, what the hell is this? Turns out, so they're developing a mobile title based on that mini game from Final Fantasy VII where you're on the motorcycle. And it's not just a port of that specific sequence. What they're doing is they're expanding it to a full game where they've got tracks from all across the Final Fantasy VII world, which is absolutely crazy. But because they did that and because they were there, I had to ask a question I have been asking for about 5 years now, ever since mobile titles have taken off. You guys ever play Triple Triad?
No.
Okay, so there was a version of Final Fantasy VIII. It also came on 9, though the 9 version would just lost the purity of this. Final Fantasy games are great with mini games, and Triple Triad was a 3x3 grid card game that was almost like tic-tac-toe, X's and O's, with cards. So each card had a 4-star of numbers. So basically, when you stack, say, a 12 card against a 6, 12 card would flip the 6 over, and that would then be your card. So the idea is you have to put down more powerful character cards to try and own the board, right? Phenomenal game. I spent hours on it in Final Fantasy. I think I played that more than I did the main story, to be honest with you. And it is a game that I think lends itself so well because it's so easy to do on mobile. And whether that's just a single player thing, whether it's multiplayer, that game needs to be made. So I asked them, and the answer was, we're not saying anything, which is an obvious thing. But they sort of admitted that seeing how well G-Byte goes, they could potentially work on future titles based on previous Final Fantasy minigames, and they're saying what's out there. So I think it was leaning more towards a yes than a no. So it definitely didn't say we're doing it, but the potential for that being there at last is fantastic. As long as they don't screw around too much with the original system, I will buy that. Don't make it free to play. Don't try and put any microtransactions in it. Put an actual price in that, even if it's $4.99. That is one Square mobile title, because they do charge a lot for the Final Fantasy ports, and they're not well made. You make that proper title, I will pay money. Anybody that has played Triple Triad will pay money for that, and we will be very happy indeed.
And it's not like you're asking for Final Fantasy VII remake. So.
No, I'm sure they're sick to death.
Are we not asking for that?
Well, we're asking for everybody's but we're too nice to do that in an interview setting.
I think they're just sick to death of it. I think if you try and do that now, they just grind their teeth and like, oh, you.
One thing I did play in the morning that you played as well, we were doing interviews over at Devolver, and we were sort of swapping crews, and I was sorting my camera and changing batteries and stuff, and they have a very nice booth with like these camping caravans. Yeah. And Gillen just pops out of the door and it's like, Nick, come here. You need to play this.
You need to play this. There's a game, like I said, so multiple these little mini Winnebagos dug around this parking lot with a game and a developer in each. And we've sort of tried a couple of things. I mean, we saw Hotline Miami 2. There was demoing like a map editor.
The pitying dating simulator.
Yeah, which was the weirdest thing. That was the thing you guys done an interview about. And I was like, okay, but come into this caravan, sit down, I play this game. I suck at it, as most people have. And Nick here is probably one of the best games players I've ever met. And he loves a challenge, as does Dory. Yeah, Dory's like, what are you saying? Don't worry, we're going to drag you in a moment to talk about your side of this tale. And it was like, you've got to play this. I was just like, hold on, I know a guy. I know a guy who wants to play this, stuck the head out.
That was awesome.
And this is the game.
Awesome.
Tell us about it.
Actually, Dory should probably tell
us
more. He wants to talk about
I can go to the bathroom and Dory can come in.
Yeah. I'll clarify this. So when we wrapped up yesterday, you've got like a 20-minute window before everything shuts down. Dory turns around without missing a beat, goes, camera, bag, I'm going here, I'm playing this game. Because I'm assuming...
I actually carried my camera there as well. I didn't have time to drop it off.
I'm assuming, did Nick tell you about this, or you heard about it else somewhere else?
I think it was actually you that said like, oh, you need to go and play it.
Yeah.
So
and I told you, we were walking out, and I was like, I told Dory, I played that game, that was really awesome. And Dory was like, oh yeah, wait, I want to go play that now.
Okay.
What's it actually called?
Titan Souls?
Titan Souls.
Yeah.
So,
I guess for people watching,
we should talk about it.
No one knows what it is.
That game.
The mystery game.
The PR to me said it's basically Dark Souls mixed with Zelda, old school.
And that's a perfect description.
Yeah. Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, I got over there and I assumed they weren't still doing media appointments because it was so late in the day, but apparently they were.
I think until 8 was
Yeah.
what you said when we left in the morning.
Yeah, I guess since they're in the trailer park outside the...
Don't have to worry
So they pick up the overflow from people...
just for people,
exiting.
like normal days at E3 ends at 6, Thursday ends at 5, so that they're ending at 8 is crazy.
Yeah. But anyway, I was just standing outside the booth, and then a journalist walked in, and I was like, oh, I guess I'll just go in. And so I just crashed his appointment. And I was just sitting there, and nobody acknowledged that I was there for a great amount of time. It was quite funny. But he spent the first 20 minutes So
let's talk about what the games.
The demo is you spawn in a world. There are 4 bosses that you need to kill off.
There's 4 doors.
Yeah,
four doors, 4 bosses. You kill those off, and then a big door opens up, and in the game proper, there'll be a world, Zelda-ish world, where you can roam about, find bosses, and
they also talked about Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, Shadow of the Colossus as well, yeah. But the idea is they're talking about like original NES Zelda. So there's no real explanation what you're doing. You're free to roam, but it is very much all about the boss fights.
Yeah.
And you've got 1 HP point.
Yeah.
You have 1 arrow.
Yeah. You got 1 arrow, you shoot it out, and then you press the trigger button again to call it
Or
back.
you can run over and pick it up.
Yeah, you can run over and pick it
They
up.
said it was from a game jam, the original thing, and that was why they had that 1 life.
Yeah.
The bosses have 1 life.
It was something. Yeah, the
1 arrow.
The concept was 1, and
Yeah.
they built this round. But yeah, you can call the arrow back almost Jedi style.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is when the arrow's being shooten back to you, even though it's slower, it can still damage bosses. But
Yeah, so this journalist, I forget which publication he was from. I guess it's good that I don't mention which one. But he spent his 20 minutes on fighting 2 of the bosses and dying and dying and dying, and you know, he finally finished off, and I was like, oh, okay, hey, you want to play? And I was like, oh, I'm not invisible.
I do exist.
Yeah, so yes, jumped on it, and at that point the PR came in and said, oh, the point was over, you know, you need to get out. And I was just like, I need to play it. And then I finished the other 2 bosses on 1 life.
The first go, it was just your first run through.
Just right off the bat, and the other guy was just like, holy shit, dude. And I was just like, that's what I do. But a great game.
An absolutely awesome game.
But apparently, the demo that we saw was just a slice of gameplay. They cut out like all the story and stuff like that. So there's actually going to be some narrative.
Oh, right,
and stuff
okay.
like that. I actually kind of liked it, just straight in boss fights. But yeah,
it was the sort of same thing with the way Below is by Cappy that we actually played at one of the indie events.
I just want to say this game, PS4 and Vita, and
Oh,
PC,
yes.
Mac, and Linux.
Yeah.
Next
I'm
year
so,
at some point.
So much looking forward to that on the Vita.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was just saying that Below's the same way, where you go in and there's no explanation, you just have to work out what you need to do. But the boss designs are fantastic. I mean, they said they were very much inspired by that.
Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, Shadow of the Colossus and The Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past, where it's just crazy boss design. Because most of the times you go in, you're like, what the hell is this? Did you do the box, the cube boss?
oh, that rolls around.
Yeah.
On a chess table. Yeah.
They must love this because you go up to it and you're like, okay, I obviously have to shoot it in some way. So I went right up to it and shot the arrow, and the damn thing just rolled right on top of me.
I walked right up to it, and I was about to shoot. I was like, no, wait a minute.
No.
This is gonna trigger something.
Yeah.
So I walked back to the door and shot it from afar, and it's like, sure enough, it just went dunk, 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 towards me. It was, yeah.
But there's some great boss designs. So I actually tell me about the other 2, because the one I saw was the cube, and then the big glowing orb,
that was the one I
bouncy
played.
sphere thing with the heart in the middle.
Yeah,
What
so
was
so
the other
I
two?
did the chessboard one where it's a box that rolls. It rolls 4 squares and then it shoots a laser.
Yeah.
So you can figure out where and when, in which direction it's going to shoot the laser.
Yeah.
And you need to hit it twice and then it's dead. The other one I played was it's like in a garden, and you shoot it, and then it has 2 floating fists that try to squash you, and one fist is like covering his heart.
Yeah.
And then you need to time it so that
He's-
he starts moving his other fist to hit you, and he's hitting you with the other one. So you need to like shoot and run
Yeah.
before he squashes you.
That's so cool. I
Yeah.
just like
Lot of
such a good game.
And it's not a twin stick as well. It would be easier with the twin stick, but it's just one directional. And I like
One
that.
aim, hold, power up there, let go.
Yeah.
It's crazy that I think most of my favorite titles from E3 were all in that parking lot, because we got there and we also seen the Talos Principle.
Yeah, that
which
was cool.
That, the reveal they had at
Some
Sony's
T-shirt
conference.
for it here somewhere.
Somewhere buried in, and Jesus. So it was basically, there we go. The Serious Sam guys were tinkering with various puzzles for their next game, and they had such a good time doing it. They just went, let's actually remove all these from our next project and make a separate game for them. So the idea is, you're in some sort of like garden castle ruins thing. Apparently they did research trips where they went to various places around Italy and such like took a load of photographs and basically just copied and pasted it in the game. So it's got this weird sort of like modern, retro, sci-fi afterlife thing, which is a really bad way of describing this. But you go and get castle ruins, and within certain ruins there's puzzles you have to solve, so you get locked in. Sort of a little bit Portal-like, but the work, like the one we did was, there were like force fields. So there's 3 force fields and 2
it's sort of a camera-looking thing that could
disrupt those fields. So you have to work out, okay, I've got 2 disruptors, 3 fields.
At first you just have a field, you move the first one over, and you can walk through. And then there's another one, there's another thing, you move that over. And then you get to one where there's not a thing, and it's like, what do I do now?
So basically you work like rather than, that's one of the things about E3 when you're playing these demos.
Very confusing, but
But when you play these demos and the developers are right behind you, and they obviously know how to go through it, and they know they've seen that many people come up and get really confused, and the pressure's on. But yeah, you do these.
They probably have the same feeling that I have when my mom is trying to, fix the browser on the computer. Where do I click? And I said, no.
Just patience.
Just let them do it.
But yeah, you're
or they'll never learn.
So first-person, puzzle-based,
I think
story
very
adventure.
Portal-like.
Very Portal-like story adventure. And once you complete the first puzzle, it's not God, but it feels like God starts talking to you, because this massive light comes down from the sky, and this big booming voice talks about you and your why you're in this reality and what is the meaning of reality and stuff like that. It's real. It doesn't translate well to a 10-minute demo at 27 degrees, but incredibly interesting and definitely a highlight of my show. And that entire parking lot was just insane for the quality and the creativity. So yeah, what was the pigeon thing?
What?
This pigeon dating?
A hatful boyfriend.
What
was
we
did an interview on that. It didn't get hands-on, unfortunately, but it's basically a dating simulator making fun of dating simulators, kind of, but also you're dating pigeons.
So you're dating pigeons?
Dating pigeons.
Okay. You're a human dating pigeons.
You're a human.
Yeah.
So it's not
you're a human dating pigeons.
It's a sort of Octodad sort of thing.
Hell?
Yeah. You want to guess from which country the developer is?
No, you know what? I'm not even going to say
Japanese. I thought they would go.
No. I really did. I just was like, I'm going to stay quiet at this point.
The creepy thing about it is that the pigeons are photographers.
They're photos of actual pigeons.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I might come walking down the street one day and be like, hey, that pigeon.
I seen you in
I've been dating that pigeon.
Let's make it official. No. We did an interview on that where I don't remember what his position was. Do you remember?
I think he wasn't a developer, but he was basically it's an old Flash game.
Yeah, I think he's a producer on the English side of things.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, he talked about how the woman that made the original game really loves pigeons, and it was like she really
loves pigeons.
Like, oh,
trying to release that somewhere that's healthy.
Before I get out of here and let Bengt get back in, you mentioned Helldivers before.
I really didn't, but you injected. Go on.
Oh, you did.
What a segue! You mentioned Helldivers. No,
Come
on. But let's
the
talk about
the thing is, he does this everywhere. We're going like for dinner. It's like, did you mention Helldivers? Boom. Talk us.
No, but that
so Helldivers, yes.
It was short but sweet, and I think that was actually my highlight of the show.
Did you get to play with the devs?
No, he was standing behind us laughing. First at us dying all the time, and then when we finished, you had too easy a difficulty. Because we finished.
Flesh, I know you spent 3 shows trying to actually play the damn thing.
Yeah.
But flesh it out for viewers. What is Helldivers?
Well, Helldivers is a proper Arrowhead 4-player game. I got the feeling of one of my favorite movies of all time, Starship Troopers. It was like, okay, they should have just called it Starship Troopers.
Yeah. But that would cost money.
Yeah. So, but it's 4 players. It's a kind of top-down, slightly isometric viewpoint. You get, of course, it's a twin-stick shooter, but all the power-ups, upgrades, and revival system is you hold in a trigger and then you put in like an old Konami cheat code, like up, down, left, right, down, round, and then you get a marker to throw down. And it's very hard to try to read the code or remember it while you're being accosted by an alien. And of course, friendly fire is always on. You get some objectives like you need to blow up a nest, and then you need to clear a checkpoint, and then you need to defend the landing zone to get picked up. And I was just so awesome. Earlier this year, I got hands-on with Gauntlet, also developed by Arrowhead Games, and I was kind of disappointed a little bit.
You said
that's just me being hardcore with Arrowhead Games, because I wanted to be, I want to be playing it and then cursing off the people that I'm playing it with because they're killing me. Hardcore friendly fire on and griefing and all that stuff. And I thought Gauntlet was kind of light on that.
Sort of more like a mainstream approach they've taken to
it. I think we should have a hipster jar where I can drop in coins when I say stuff like this. It's too mainstream.
Too mainstream.
But just imagine the clink clink. But
it was just great to play.
Yeah, that made up for that. That's sure. Cool. Really loved it.
Okay, so that would be your highlight of the show then?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the whole show blends into one blur, but so the thing that you can remember, that's the one that you have to say is your highlight.
Okay. I think that's the right way of going about it.
Yeah, so thank you.
All right, now that you mentioned The Last of Us.
Dory, before you go, could you fill that full of water because my throat's about to go?
Now that you mentioned The Last of Us.
We're doing that from now on. Now you mentioned so and so.
I heard you were talking about The Witcher.
Before I go, I just want to. I think that's the sort of games I played. As I mentioned the other day, The Order is probably my favorite. If not, then Far Cry, which we also talked about, and the VR stuff. The last day, I met actually a lot of cool people. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Ran into Neil Druckmann in the morning. In the afternoon, I ran into Ashley Johnson and Troy Baker, the voices of Joel and Ellie. Got a photo with them.
Did you get the...
No, because I didn't bring it this year. Next year. Yeah, I have an autographed The Last of Us game special edition for the press where I have Neil Druckmann, Bruce Straley, and Troy Baker, but I'm missing Ashley Johnson.
Because you were like, nah, she's not going to be. You said that. You were thinking about it
and
prior.
then she was there outside Call of Duty, actually. They were going to go see the Call of Duty Advanced Warfare demo that Troy Baker, he's in everything now.
He's taken over from Nolan North. Nolan was just like, bastard.
And also meeting Vince Zampella at Titanfall was super
awesome.
rad. I had to go and be like, hey, I need to shake your hand.
Who were you interviewing? Abby?
Yeah, Abby. Awesome.
Community manager for Respawn. She's so cool to talk to. She's a great person. But we were talking to her, and that was as we started the stream. Basically, she really, really wanted to play Evolve, but she couldn't get out. And she was saying that Vince came in with a big sandwich, and he's just like puts the sandwich down, walks over, arm around, and he goes, "What?" He's like, "Can she leave to play Evolve?" He's like, "No," walks off. It's just those sort of random encounters thing is brilliant.
But for people who don't know, he was Infinity Ward.
He's an Infinity Ward
so they
left.
Did COD 4 and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, which is some of my favorite games. So that was really cool to finally be able to say, "Hey,
that's what you did.
Love what you're doing." And
he looked chuffed when you said that. I'm sure he gets that a lot, but
that was nice because it's always a little bit, how do they react? Also, now that he's not with Infinity Ward anymore, but I mean,
I loved your old stuff.
But I actually also like Titanfall a lot. But that was nice.
That's cool, man.
I think that's it.
That's it.
I want to say this one of the there was not a lot of booth babes. When I did one round, I found some, and they threw these. I came around the corner and I looked, and then it just.
Was that basically get away from me?
I don't know. But
height. What?
Yeah,
I know.
Hyperkid.
What's
so I was like, okay, I'll keep these.
Some companies do need to throw stuff at.
But it's like it's not enough that they're one of the few booths that had booth babes. They also need to throw stuff at.
It's a good thing. There's hardly any booth babes anymore. I mean, I think I like Wargaming have them, but almost that's.
But they were also dressed out.
That's almost like an iconic part of that brand. But what we did miss, we mentioned this, was there was a lack of characters.
Yeah.
So Teddy from Persona was like one of the few guys like full on dressed up. I mean, the Batmobile was there, full scale Batmobile.
And a couple years ago, they had like people dressed up as the Joker and Batman. And stuff.
Just wandering about.
Yeah, and the one I keep mentioning is I think is it a Space Marine that was there a couple years ago?
Yeah.
Like two guys fighting. They were like tall and big and stuff.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Stormtroopers.
Yeah.
Stuff like, and it just adds to the enjoyment
so
of the show
that
floor.
we really miss. But of course, it's like we're okay that it's not just babes and
I mean, that's the thing.
Activision had a couple of Advanced Warfare.
Yeah, they were pretty cool. With
I saw the exoskeleton guys. Yeah,
It was pretty awesome.
But I only saw like one. I don't even know whether they were there for the game specifically, as in officially, or whether they were just huge fans. But there was a couple of Mortal Kombat cosplayers wandering about the convention center that looked cool. But yeah, I mean,
Sony actually had a lot. They did have Octodad and a lot of other characters. So that was cool. But yeah, I think that was it. Was there anything else?
I'm actually trying to remember if there's anything else that I saw that made me go, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I feel like I met one more person that was really cool. But yeah, I think that's it for me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the kind of attention's on the big screens and the demo pods, but it makes it feel more fun. It makes it feel like something different from a trade show, which obviously it is, but you want to have that little bit of extra flair. And I think obviously the controversy over Booth Babes maybe has migrated to just characters in general, which is a bit of a shame if that is true. I mean, let's talk about booths a little bit. One of these things we don't really get to see much because it's head down straight to the press area to interview. I mean, Wargaming, Fraser Nash took us out. It was basically, oh yeah, this is something you don't see every day, and they had this massive tank just hovering from the ceiling. They tied it up. It's like, do you want to go under it? Hell no! That thing falls. We're all dead.
They had a cool photo thing where you could like jump and then take photos.
Do that
over it.
Matrix or 3D.
I thought it was funny because they had a tank outside of the South Hall that was crushing a car.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with the game at all.
No,
you're not really riding over cars, are you?
But they just
You just get
wanted
the
to show
photos there with the
Yeah.
girls as well. Yeah.
But
By the way,
I guess the tank is a tank.
A tank's a tank.
if you want to see the show floor, I try to do a couple of show floor videos really fast because I didn't want to make them too long. So it's a quick look at everything, but go check those out if you want.
I'm still thinking the Batmobile was my favorite from what I saw. That full.
I think
That
the
and
Goliath for me.
that and the Goliath,
Yeah.
the monster from Evolve.
That was it. Actually, yeah. No, actually, take the Batmobile back. The Goliath, brilliantly made.
You mentioned both.
You can mention
It's
both.
a-
No,
it's a
yeah,
tie.
there's a reason you go my top
I
favorite
thought
thing.
you'd say the PlayStation painting outside.
Well, that was pretty cool. I actually forgot to take a photo of that.
Yeah.
So you had a bet on with Dory that it was going to be
Not
someone
really a
specific.
bad. No, we're just talking about it. But yeah, that they had this guy. Actually, in the end, I don't think they actually filled him out.
No, it was essentially you.
They had
the
a
player.
they had a
I
vote
think
on the
they put-
website.
They put Nathan or Joel
I think it
beside
was
him,
Nathan,
and then
yeah.
they,
like sort of behind, which was
Yeah.
weird. So there was all these PlayStation characters, and there was a voting on the PlayStation website where you could vote between Joel from Last of Us, Nathan Drake from Uncharted, and a girl from the new Killzone that I don't know enough about to mention. But you could vote who should be in the photo, and there was sort of this white outline where there was room for a character. And yeah, so but it seemed in the end it was just said one of the
you're
slogans
the
in there.
greatest.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Excellent. Okay. Well, with the hands-on, I mean, we got very few hands-on, but personal highlight for that?
I think it's going to be The Order. As I said before, The Order, Far Cry, and the VR stuff definitely. But if I had to pick one, like one game I played, I'd pick The Order. If I could pick another game that I could get now, I'd probably pick Uncharted.
Yeah. Can you talk? Can we talk about Far Cry? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So with the Far Cry demo, because you got to play through all three.
Yeah, and
versions
actually
of it.
multiple times. I think I ended up having like 9 tries because if you die, if you finish, you just got to start over. I did some where I died like after a minute because it went.
So
bad, and I did
just-
ones where I finished the whole thing in 5 minutes, and one where I finished it in 12, I think.
It's that one sort of take over the force.
Yeah. So what they've done is in Far Cry 3, if you played that, they had these camps that you could take out that sort of freed the area, and you could try to like run in and shoot, and you could or you could try to stealth it or whatever. And they sort of took that and they said that they had gotten a lot of feedback that people really loved those So they were going to, of course, have a lot more of those, but sort of evolve it and have a harder one that was a fortress. So it's sort of a castle. So you have to take that out. And this was sort of built for the demo, so you would spawn in 3 different spots around it, depending on which setup you chose. So there was one that was stealth, where you would start with a crossbow and a silent sniper rifle, and you could sort of go for the stealth approach. And there was one that was you had a shotgun and like an LMG, which was the one I think you picked, where you then spawn next to an elephant, so you can jump on an elephant and charge through, and you can jump off, and that elephant will go crazy. And the third one was you spawn on the other side, where you have a grenade launcher and I think it was a submachine gun, and you spawn next to that mini helicopter, so you can jump in that and fly over the castle and start. That was actually the hardest, because I started playing the stealth one, and the first playthrough I almost got through the whole thing without getting discovered. The one that we got is one where I go again and I get discovered, and then shit goes crazy. You get to see a lot more action there.
What we're talking about here, that you capture gameplay of what you play.
I went to play Far Cry to capture some gameplay, and we
that
get
will be
one
up
clip
on the sites.
Hopefully later. Well, I guess tonight, your time if you're in Europe. But the one with the helicopter is just they just sound the alarm right away, and then helicopters and jeeps keep pouring in, and you're just in the sky, and like they end up shooting up there, and if you try to land, then they just flush you out. So that was really hard. The elephant was a lot of fun, and that if you jump off that, it would just go crazy in the camp, and you can actually sort of hide, and it will just start
destroy everything.
One thing that happened to me, one of the tries with the elephant, it actually attacked me. I got in the way of the elephant. So it just started attacking.
Did you shoot the elephant?
No.
This is the thing that I asked.
But I think I was in between an enemy and the elephant.
Yeah. And then
he shot, and then I killed him, but then the elephant was attacking me.
They said, I asked the dev about this when we were at a hands-on evening event with Ubisoft, and they said not a single person yet has shot the elephant.
I almost did it because he was attacking me.
Yeah.
But I decided let me run away.
That was like me doing the Far Cry 3 demo there, previous E3, where they said about shooting the lock off a tiger cage, and it's like it'll attack all the enemies. And when I did it, tiger came out and just looked at me, and he just got and he just killed me.
That is really what Far Cry
is about.
I have one from Far Cry 3 where I was taking out a camp, and I was like sneaking up, and a group of goats came running into the camp, and I was like, okay, what's going on here? And then like a couple seconds, and a tiger comes through the camp, and he just starts wrecking the camp. He's like looks at the goats, so it's like they're really fast, and looks at all the humans, and it just goes for the humans. And that, like, when I played that, I had the crossbow as well with fire on the arrows, and I actually hit the tiger, and it lit on fire, and it attacked a guard right at that moment. So he was just standing there, and then a
flaming tiger,
and it died right after. We just had that moment where it killed the guy while it was
cool.
I just wish I had captured that. That looks so awesome, because it takes a couple seconds before it dies of the fire. Looks so rad.
I love them injecting that sort of stuff in it. That's why I'm so looking forward to Far Cry 4. I mean, that was one. I mean, this is a segue off, but that was one of the things that I thought they could have done more in Grand Theft Auto 5. To be honest with you, because obviously Red Dead, shitloads of wildlife, interact with it. Even if you're just walking by, it attacks you. You can shoot things. With GTA, you had maybe a couple of like wildcats out in the forest, and there was that hunting mission, but there wasn't that sense of this world's populated by.
It happens a little bit more for me, at least in online. That's where those sort of Far Cry moments happen, when you're just roaming around with friends and tanks and jet planes and
just seeing that sort of stuff. Can't wait. Cannot wait. I just like to highlight for a moment. Now, I know we talk about all the delays and stuff like that into 2015, but isn't it amazing how much good stuff's coming out in the next the next 12 months?
October is going to be insane, and then we've got November.
Like October 7th is like 5 games coming out that day, like big games.
And do you know what? Not one of them, I think, is one of those. I'll maybe play every single thing.
And that's all the big games. Then Dole will say, "What about all the indies?" And like I played several games this show that I'd never heard of. Most of them are coming to Vita, so that console for me is still going to be that awesome platform for those.
I think it's a real golden age basically coming up, and so many diverse experiences. I cannot wait. I'm getting excited just talking about this stuff.
I got a look at a couple of indies that I had no idea I was going to see at Microsoft, because they were doing ID at Xbox presentations.
Yeah.
Basically, I sign up, do a half-hour ID at Xbox. No clue what I'm about to do.
Alright.
Got to see 2 games. Obviously, these are games that could appear on any platform. It's not platform. No. So, not sure what it's come up for. One of the games was a game called Nero from Italy.
Nero.
Nero.
All right,
like the old. Emperor.
Yeah. So yeah.
It's a exploration game, sort of a dream world. Got jellyfish, glowing yellowfish in the lanterns. That sort of dreamy world kind of thing. Environmental puzzles. Very cool. Of course, the big selling point, the story. We can't tell you anything about the story, but it's really, really great. One of those things. I hate it when they say that. I understand why they say it, but it's kind of hard to write a preview about a game it's really great.
The devs say the story is great.
Yeah. Second game, though, extremely interesting concept. Now, you may have seen a trailer for this. We put it up maybe 6 months ago or something like that. A game called Get Even from the Farm 51 crew that did. I think they worked on the last Painkiller or something like that. They've been doing a lot of shooters. Obviously got talent from various Polish games like The Witcher and what's it, Bulletstorm, all tied together. But this concept's something that's very different. It is a first-person shooter, and it's also a detective story. Basically, it's 2 campaigns in one. You're always online. You're always playing online. You can either play as that detective, or you could play as sort of like the villain on the other side. The funny thing is, like, for the first person bits, when you're playing as the good guy, like Agent Smith in The Matrix, people will sort of jump into the characters that you're playing against. Player controlled, jump in there. You don't know what's AI, what's player controlled. So they've got that sort of marriage between. It's almost like Journey, but head to head instead. Very cool concept, and also the game looks very, very cool. It's got that. The thing is, like, they want to play with what's real and what's not. They got a scanning technology, so they scan environments, get it as real as possible. You're using a scanning device to see, like, I didn't quite get, but you're doing, like, part of it is like an investigation where you're scanning environments, you're looking for clues, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And they want to play with the thing where you don't know what's real and what's not, and what's very, very interesting concept. Yes, got a brief demo of it, but
enough to intrigue you one.
Absolutely, and it's one of those things where not quite sure how it'll turn out, but the idea of that the concept is so great that I'm extremely interested to see where it goes.
Okay, cool, man.
All right, I'm just gonna check if there's anything I missed, and I'm gonna
Run away.
leave to it.
So The Last of Us, eh?
The last best game ever. I just call it. No, I think that was it for me. So,
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Cool. Excellent. Well, we'll run over. Cheers for that, Nick. I'm sure he'll pop back in before the stream ends today. I got hands-on at the Nintendo booth. Unfortunately, very, very brief, because whilst I jinxed myself, the last few days have been completely smooth. Being at every appointment on time, nothing's ran over. Obviously, the last day something goes wrong. We end up basically snowballing it. So my hour at Nintendo turned into 30 minutes. And given that was hands-on with the majority of their new releases, that's a problem. So I had basically a little overview of stuff. I played Bayonetta 2, which, oh my god, that game is so fucking amazing. I love the style. I love the style of it. Now, I'm not quite... I don't really get the Bayonetta design herself, because it's the whole Sarah Palin thing that I just can't not unsee now. But the world, the design, the characters, the bosses, phenomenal. This was a bit more wandering about a city. Previous demos have just basically been a couple of arena-based fights. This is more free exploration, and it just looks so crisp and beautiful. It was one of those I just stopped and just turned around. But a ton of boss fights during that little 10-minute segment. And just every single boss was just like, are you kidding me? The design was amazing. That was so cool. A little bit chaotic. One of the great, phenomenal things about the original Bayonetta is the camera. And the fact is, I never once needed to adjust the camera during combat. The camera was just so smart, knew exactly where it wanted to be. This time around, and okay, it is a demo of an unfinished game, I had to keep adjusting the camera. So there's moments where I'm in combat, I get a little bit too close to the lens, and things don't dynamically pull out, which they always did in the original. So you always had that sort of overview of what was going on. You knew exactly where you were, and given how chaotic that game is, that's an amazing thing to do. This, unfortunately, not quite as polished, but I will reserve judgment, obviously, until the game comes out properly.
Yeah, that's one of the things with all the demos we play. Obviously, there's going to be things that aren't finished, that aren't done.
Because they're not finished games, yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to check out the original Bayonetta that they had. That will be released alongside the sequel. I think on the disc there's a digital download, which is just an awesome value pack right there. I'm sure I'm speaking for other Bayonetta fans. An excuse to play the original one again. Great. But did try out...
and also a good thing for Nintendo fans who may not have played the original one to sort of get that as well.
I would advise, though, that your gamepad will probably break or be really damaged by the end of that playthrough if you try and do both back-to-back. I tried Yoshi's... I don't know the full name of it. It's like Yoshi's Yarn World.
Yarn Yoshi? Or
yeah, it's like Yoshi's Yarn something is the Y's. Beautiful. It's similar to what they've done with Kirby in the past on the...
same developer, I think.
And it's that the whole yarns design, so very much like previous Yoshi's Island, Yoshi's Story games. So Baby Mario's not on your back though, but you've got the sort of like you can get hit and stuff like that. And simplistic, and one of those, those sort of platformers are sort of simplistic because there's no real challenge to them, but you just really enjoy playing them. It's that sort of thing. There was a couple of bits I actually did get stuck in. So the sort of the clouds with the question mark, the flying clouds that you have to hit with your eggs in previous Yoshi games. There's a sequence where you come to basically a dead end, and there's about 3 or 4 of those clouds hidden in the previous area. But the only way of finding them is if you walk past them, they'll appear suddenly. So that was a little bit of a what the hell am I doing, because there's no real explanation. The other thing about these demos is you're dropped in usually to give you a slice of gameplay that's a little bit further in the game. So you don't get the context, you don't get the tutorial, you're not quite sure what you're doing. I'm sure playing the game proper, that'll be fine. You'll know what's up for that. But at that point, I one of the few times I've had to turn around to the guy at the booth and go, what the hell am I doing? I'll throw my hands up and say, I'm lost. I am not too sure what I need to be doing here.
Yeah.
But I played and I was just like, I came out with a smile on my face. I bumped into Matt Reynolds, colleague from Digital Spy, and he just turned around. He was looking after the controller. He was playing the game until I turned up late to the appointment, so he was quite happy to play on for another 10-15 minutes. I just turned around and he had this most serene look on his face because he was just finishing off that. He says, like, that's beautiful. He just walks off like really, really calm. And I can see why. Because that was only a 35-minute slot, a brief Bayonetta, brief Yoshi's, and only one round of Splatoon, which was the surprise reveal at the Nintendo Direct, the digital conference. Really good. Really good. So arena-based, team-based arena combat game where you use ink and you have to cover the floor. So covering walls don't count. You cover the floor, and the idea is at the end of the match, it's whatever team's got the most coverage with their sort of like ink packs on the floor wins. And the idea is your character can transform into a little squid. So you hold down, I think it's both sort of shoulder buttons on the gamepad, and you transform into a squid and go into whatever ink you've put down. You can travel like really fast in that ink. The idea is once you come to the other team's ink, you drop out back into human form and you get stuck, so you move really, really slowly. And it's an incredibly frantic, fast game. And whilst a lot of a lot of the Nintendo stuff at these events, they've got helpers there and everything like that, and it's really they emphasize the fun and the enjoyment, and sometimes it comes off a little bit just like, over the top, a little bit too exaggerated, which is fine because I mean that mark is completely different. This time it was like, yeah, okay, we get why you guys are just so happy, because they had the team set up along one wall of the booth. And everyone was just so into it. I mean, I queued up to get on, and the group before me, hollering, cheering, swearing at each other, like really just getting involved in it. And you rarely see that on the show floor, where people are very much like, I'm playing, I'm doing a preview, I'm playing, I'm on my next thing. People were queuing up again. They finished. Our next lot stepped in. Guys came behind us because they're like, I've got to have another go on this. So I think it's one of those games that's going to do incredibly well. And I really hope it does well, because it's a unique idea, it's an original concept, and it's one of the things we need to see more of.
Yeah, certainly I think the Wii U needs more multiplayer games as well.
Definitely. In fact, we had this, was it Nick saying the other day about, you may actually think about picking up a Wii U now. Was that you, Dory? One of you guys said that.
Now he wants all the consoles.
Yeah, it was just the lineup now is getting to that point where there's enough that you would go, I could actually turn around to someone and go, I recommend you pick up a Wii U now. Because the Zelda footage that was on the Nintendo Direct wasn't a pre-rendered trailer. That was in-game, and that was actual gameplay. And it's just like, yeah. You'll play The Witcher 3, you'll finish The Witcher 3, you'll be like, I want a game like this again. And Zelda is the next step in that sort of thing. I could not wait for that.
Plus, you're getting the classic Zelda stuff as well. It's not a transformed Zelda in that sense. It's just that it's got that on top of.
In fact, it's almost a flashback to the original NES Zelda. Works huge world, just go and explore.
Yeah,
come round. But yeah, that was I think the last sort of hands-on I had for E3. But I'm glad I came out with a smile on my face rather than a meh.
Can I borrow that?
Yeah, go ahead.
What I'm supposed to talk about?
What was the Crytek stuff?
Yes, that is actually we did get hands-on with Arena of Fate. It's not a MOBA.
It's not MOBA.
It's not a MOBA.
I think that should have been the title of the game.
It's not a MOBA. But it is and it isn't. It's very much in the same spirit of Heroes of the Storm, that they're taking off things that sort of overcomplicate the MOBA genre. It's very much 20 minutes. Its time limit is 20 minutes.
Right.
So you either get to 10 points, which you can get from 7 player kills, taking down a tower, or taking down a Titan that spawns. It's like an AI-controlled big boss that you have to team up with a few people to take down. You get a point from taking one of the Titans down, one of the towers down, or 7 player kills.
Right.
So getting to 10 points, you win the game, and also destroying the base, you win the game. Otherwise, there's a time limit to 20 minutes. So it's much more immediate than your sort of League of Legends or Dota 2, games that typically take almost up to an hour to complete one game. And so the idea being, of course, that if you're on the losing side, it's 20 minutes tops that you're losing.
You're not going to get completely decimated for 40 minutes.
No. And if you're facing a really good team, it's going to be much faster than that. Fun game. It takes basically takes fictional and historical characters, sort of everything from Little Red Riding Hood, Robin Hood, to Sherlock Holmes and Tesla. Very strange sort of mix of characters, but they sort of fit the different sort of classes that you'd normally have in that kind of game. The closed beta is going to come up fairly soon because they want to get obviously people in there to play it. And it's one of those new Crytek games that's free to play. The next game I got to see, and I actually sort of made a fool of myself in the interview because I could not believe it was free to play, because it certainly didn't look the part. Visual game.
Let's clarify that. When you say it doesn't look the part, as in it looked really good.
It looked really good, and it looked like one of those games that's just like, this is a box game. This is like something that's you'll play with. I mean, there's nothing to suggest it's a free to play title. There's no friction. There's nothing like that from the demo. It's just a third-person action co-op game from what was formerly known as Vigil Games, Crytek USA, people who gave us the Darksiders games. Once again, Victorian age, late 19th century. Basically, what they want to do is they want to just do a lot of big bosses, like boss fights. So it's a little bit like Left 4 Dead, in that it's sort of procedurally generated level, and you sort of you go there and you try to. The demo they showed, you're in the Louisiana swamps trying to take out the witch.
Okay.
It's a lot of enemies going around. You got these characters, some of them, and the thing is, there's no classes. So instead, you create your own class with weapons, with abilities, and that's the idea. Just looks like an awesome game. PS4, Xbox One, PC, but it's free to play. It's
crazy.
Completely free to play, and the developers kind of like, we're just happy. We can do this game any way we want. We don't care about the business model, Crytek can make money out of this any way they want. We don't care. We're just making the game we want to make. And I'm very excited to see that. You can sign up for the closed beta on that as well, on the website for PC so far, but it's also coming out on console later on. So
Nice.
very, very interesting, and sort of game-changing thing, because once you get those games that traditional gamers would pay $60 for, 50 euros, 60 euros for, and you get those free to play, it's a whole different ball game than when it's.
Because that expectation, free to play games will involve a grind, involve microtransactions somewhere down the line, and it's almost like bashing your head against a brick wall. Something you don't really want to do, but you sort of sometimes just feel like the need to do it. But that makes perfect sense if they get round to a point of making games you genuinely want to play and enjoy, and they extract that sort of grind status of the gameplay. Then
I can imagine also that customization is going to be the big thing for this. There's a lot of sort of how you can customize your characters. It's going to be a big part of it. So I can imagine that microtransactions part of it will be customizing your.
But if you're happy to pay that, that's the thing.
I mean, if you spend a lot of time in a game, and it's what the developer said. I was talking to one of the co-founders of Vigil. He said, like, all the AAA, all the games you pay to play, they've got this on top of it as well these days. I mean, they've got these extra options. You pay for DLC to get more customization things. So why not?
Yeah, it's a fair play.
Yeah.
This question, MOBA, just you talking about that. Do you play MOBA?
Not a ton of it, no. So generally, yes, when I demo games like this, so I kind of suck at it, Well,
it's a genre that has completely passed me by. It's something I don't really play.
It's one of those genres, like if you play it, and you play it a lot. So as a games journalist, I kind of tend to not get into those genres where I have to play a lot to get anything out of it, because I don't have time to do it, because I gotta sample everything, It's the same thing with MMOs. It's really hard for me to find time to really
sink that time in.
Yeah.
It was just one of those things. I only played it for the DC game, Infinite Crisis.
Infinite Crisis,
And it's like I enjoyed it. I sort of got the general idea.
It's a great concept.
Yeah. It just really needs to be. It feels like one of those hardcore genre types that it's incredibly tough for newcomers to get in. It feels like, if you're not already part of the world, you never will be. And I mean, it's similar in a way to EVE Online. I have massive respect for that whole universe.
It is an oxymoron where you're trying to go into something that's so hardcore, like MOBAs. People have League of Legends, Dota 2, and you're trying to sort of make it more accessible. It's like, but the thing with these games is that it's incredibly deep. That's the whole selling point. So while I understand the idea of sort of inviting more people to enjoy the basic concepts of it, I don't think it's going to appeal to those players. Breaking into that market is going to be very difficult, because those players are already sort of, this is how I want this game to be. This is what we want from it. And if you're doing something that feels a little bit less, feel a little bit dumbed down. we're not interested at all.
Yeah, it's that old tagline about the easy to pick up, hard to master type thing. That is obviously enough a short and condensed version of what they're trying to translate about.
I mean,
gameplay
obviously,
mechanics, but-
like Arena of Fate and I'm sure Infinite Crisis as well, it's very apparent when you're facing off a team that's good at this kind of game and coordinated. All of that is still in there. It's just, you know, what they're trying to take off is sort of the economy system, the item systems, things like that sort of are very deep. They're trying to make it more accessible, and I just think that fans of Dota and League of Legends will probably not be interested in this. And then it's hard to sort of get that sort of player base who will spread the word out. And so it's a difficult thing to do. I think that Blizzard probably have the best chance of doing it because they have a fan base who will get on Heroes of the Storm immediately, and then it will snowball from there. But coming in as a new player in this genre is very difficult.
Maybe it is that thing about trying to get people into the genre is by mapping character skins that are making a game that has that sort of tie-in, because that's why I liked Infinite Crisis, because I'm a huge comic guy and that's my access into the world. To me, I get the idea of Batman tackling you know, and
I love the concept of that game with like different, you know, universes colliding. And,
I mean that's the idea, and certainly it's completely off MOBA, but Hyrule Warriors, the Dynasty Warriors game, I complete respect for that series, Dynasty Warriors, lasting and ongoing for so long now, so many years, but never really interested to play it myself. Mapping Zelda to it, I'm like, okay, I know the characters. Okay, now it's the same gameplay, but because it's characters I know, it's the world I know. That's a game I'm going to sink some time into.
And that is why Dynasty Warriors is so popular in Japan as well, because Romance of the Three Kingdoms, that is something that everybody knows it, and it's such an iconic property to work with. We don't get it, but I still kind of enjoy the concept of it. You know, at that level, I enjoy the fact that you're just mowing down huge amounts of enemies. You know, I never get tired of that. So
no, that's true. But you mentioned Arkham Knight, and I have to say, saw Batman yesterday. Holy shit! I was astounded.
I only did an interview, so I met up with Dax. He's now a producer at Rocksteady, I think. So he's moved up from just being that lovely guy that we all talk to being a producer.
He's like, pressure's on now.
And of course we talked about the delay and things like that. So
what were they saying?
Well, basically they just took stock of what they want. I mean, obviously they had in their mind what Arkham Knight should be. This is everything it should be. They realized we're not going to have time to get everything that we think is part of the game, but we haven't done it yet. It's just sitting on our heads.
That's cool.
We're not going to have time to do it in time for a full release. Delayed a little bit, and they're happy that they got that shot to do that.
It's an ambitious game. From the little demo we saw, 20-minute demo, the city's so dense. I mean, it feels like you can interact.
The verticality of it.
Oh my, it's insane. There's I mean, that's the idea. It builds on what they've done with Asylum and with City, but you don't mind now. I'd argue the point that because Warner went ahead with Origins, there might be a little bit of burnout with the Batman franchise, which I still sort of get, but with this delay, and once you see the game,
and maybe the delay is actually going to work to its advantage.
But when you see the game, you just want to get your hands on with it. It's one of those games. I mean, that as well as the Lords of the Fallen, which we saw yesterday, are games where we're starting to see the next gen qualities come
that
up.
Look good?
It looks. I said with the Lords of the Fallen guy, I was just like, dude, this is one of the best games I've seen. It's fantasy trope, but the design work they've put into the monsters, it looks unique. I think we had that point with Pillars of Eternity with Obsidian yesterday. Discussion of during the interview was very much about you're working on a genre that has seen literally millions of different designs over the years. How do you make a fantasy game look unique? What's the qualities you bring to it that defines it from the rest of the crowd? Lords of the Fallen has got that tagline now, unofficial tagline, it's Dark Souls Light, which is fun because people want more Dark Souls. But I looked at it and I couldn't stop looking at it because whilst it is like a dungeon crawler type thing, beautiful, and it's the same with Batman as well. The city just looks real, and with the Batmobile, you see how big the city is. It is crazy. I always found that thing with Arkham City. The map design was basically a V. So you had the prison right in the middle. So trying to traverse it, you have to do that and then that, and it's a bit slow and stuff. This feels huge, massive, and you need the Batmobile there to sort of skim across it fast enough. Again, nothing really new. Same sort of style, story beats, exploring, but just so much polish already on the game. Like the combat system, which is probably the best combat system in the third-person adventure genre of all time.
It gets name dropped in everything. A lot of interviews.
Yeah. Everybody lifts and uses that now. Has Batmobile-assisted takedowns now. So you're basically combating guys, and if the Batmobile's within viewing distance, you can pull this off. Unfortunately, the guy playing the demo didn't get to pull that off, but I can imagine it's amazing.
Yeah,
because you can remote control the Batmobile as you would expect. So puzzles play into it. Like there's a sequence where you have to go down into a basement, but the elevator's been destroyed, semi-destroyed. So what you have to do is get into the elevator, remote control the Batmobile, get it, show a grappling hook, because now you can pull down entire walls, buildings and stuff like that, and use it to gradually ease you down into that basement, And it's the functionality of multiple gadgets to get to one solution, to solve one puzzle is great. And
one thing I did talk about was, the fact that, when you have a car, and it turns into a tank.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is in GTA, so that was actually an interesting thing that they talked about. Arkham Knight is the kind of hero who he's gonna have these drones basically on the street. So, of course, Batman wouldn't be mowing down civilians or people like that with guns. Gunplay isn't really his thing. But of course, when you're in a tank, you got to shoot things. So they had to work a little bit to get the Batman concept and this sort of married together in a good way, because and that is the idea, is that the Arkham Knight has these sort of drone controlled tanks and things set up, so you will be facing them. And pretty nice idea, and it also ties into the whole thing where they are actually sort of designing this Batman villain themselves to fit the game. Obviously, lots of villains that are great for games in the Batman universe, but it is a treat for them to be able to go there, create their own villain, set things up.
Well, that shows you what such a standing that they have with everybody now. When I saw the original Asylum demo, it looked good, it looked decent. I had that design work on Batman and certainly the characters, it felt very 2000 AD for me, that sort of like overblown, exaggerated sort of muscular form, and I thought, all right, looks decent, but expectation of any tie-in, especially Batman games and previous, it's going to be at best decent, not brilliant. And there we have, fast forward to now, and they have defined not only how to do movie tie-ins, but how to do action, story-driven adventures, full stop. And for DC to go to a game studio and basically say, create something, the trust there is huge. Now, theories are on who actually Arkham Knight is, maybe behind the mask, it's someone already known, but who knows, maybe they've actually created a truly unique film. I
mean, that's the story they're going with now, so that's what we got to say. But you always sort of expect the twist there.
The thing is, you will see Arkham Knight in the comic books. You will see that rotated. Obviously, people want to share properties, because Harley Quinn originated from the Batman animated series of the 90s and was never in comics before. Such a fan favorite, they actually translated her to, I think they did a Batman animated series tie-in comic book, but then she appeared in the actual, canon DC universe. and now she's got her own comic book series. Slight redesign, I think, with a little nod to actually what Arkham City did with the character, or sorry, what Arkham did with the character. But there you go, that's her transmedia experience works, and I think that will happen with Arkham Knight, because already, even from the demo, from the trailers, the guy looks good. Now, okay, it's that sort of like alt Batman, darker Batman, basically design, sort of more militaristic as well. But cool design, cool idea, great sort of nemesis for Batman for this.
And they wanted to have a physical nemesis, someone who can sort of rival Batman in the physical space.
Yeah.
So I imagine there's going to be some showdowns.
Yeah, they had to do something different. I mean, with the previous Arkham games, it was always about the Joker. And let's see, you maybe had Bane in terms of Bane and Killer Croc maybe be able to smack him down, but you didn't have the smarts there.
No.
So you always had, like, all the villains have one or the other. Arkham Knight seems to have everything.
Yeah.
And I think, given after what they did with Arkham City, and it's been out a while, but still, I actually don't want to spoil it for people. Given how Arkham City ends, Joker's out of the playbook now. They needed someone else, and it was a third thought.
Is he out though? We don't know.
Do you know what? I think he is. I don't think they would do that with how Arkham City ended.
Yeah.
It would completely ruin that ending. And think about that. There's another example. They did something to that character that the comics have never touched. They always sort of hint at it and fake it. There's always a cop out. They went there and they've done something truly unique to that character. And it was an amazing ending, right? And it was the thought of how can they top this?
Yeah.
It remains to be seen whether Arkham Knight will be as good a revelation of a character as the Joker was in the previous Arkham games, but it's one of the things I'm not worried about, shall we say. even if it is the same Batman experience as before, it's brilliant. And if they do something better with it, even better.
Absolutely. Not quite
Dare
sure.
we ask?
No, I forgot how to spell my last name.
Yeah. Dory's flagging.
Last thing I did of the entire show, while you were doing Pillars of Eternity, I was checking out Tales from the Borderlands.
Oh, yes. Yes. This
Quite
sounds
the treat,
amazing.
Quite the treat over at the Telltale Games booth. They're not showing Game of Thrones at E3, sadly. I tried to sort of get some information out. Not quite yet. They're not quite yet talking about it, but obviously, I mean, anyone who's played the Telltale games of late know what to expect from Tales from the Borderlands. It's a return to what Telltale games did in the past because it's fun.
Right.
It's humorous, you know. The Walking Dead, not really humorous. Sure, there's some fun in The Wolf Among Us, but also pretty serious. Game of Thrones, that's serious. But that said, Borderlands is one of those universes that's just it's crazy and fun, you know. And the way they have this set up is it's a great narrative device. I think that's like the biggest takeaway I got from it, and they've talked about this in the past, but seeing it play out in action was tremendous. Basically, what the game starts out is two characters, the two main characters of the game, Reese and Fiona, are sort of caught with a third character, mysterious one, apparently a character that Borderlands fans will know is masked, so you can't see who it is, but they will know, and that it will blow their minds. Apparently, that's what Telltale say anyway, and I tend to believe them because obviously they know what they're talking about. But anyway, he's got them at gunpoint, and he's out for a vault, and these two, Fiona and Reese, apparently were the closest one to get all the way there, hunting that vault key, and this is them retelling the story from two different perspectives of getting that vault key. Big fish tales, you know, it's that sort of thing where you know one person says one thing, then the other goes, that's not what happened. I was there. And apparently this third character knows a little bit about it as well.
Okay.
Apparently he knows a little bit more than he's letting on. So you won't be. So that is like the third thing of it that they didn't really show, but that'll be part of the game where he's gonna be able to tell if they're not telling the truth
or not, right?
But anyway, Reese is this. The game is set after Borderlands 2, so Handsome Jack is out of the picture.
Right.
He works for Hyperion, and of course, Handsome Jack gone. Everybody wants to be the boss. Everybody wants to be the new Jack, including him. He didn't get it. He's kind of pissed off at the douchebag who got the gig, and he overhears him talking about a vault key. So he decides to go down to Pandora with his friend to get that vault key. They siphon off some money from the company to go down and get it, and that's where sort of that's the first chapter of the game. Right. Interesting things about it. It's your typical Telltale game. Shows it through dialogue. There are some puzzles in there. A couple of interesting things though. There's an economy, so you can loot. So you loot money, and that money can be used for different things. And you can, but the game of course remembers what you loot, and that may come back to haunt you as well. So if you take money from a dead person, maybe that will come back to haunt you some way.
Okay, I see. Yeah,
and a lot of those kind of things. Also, there's gonna be some sort of tie-in with the games in terms of actual loot, like guns and that sort of thing as well. It's not a shooter at all.
Yeah.
There will be instances of action like there's been in other Telltale games, but not straightforward shooting in any way. So, no.
So, but the humor's there. I mean, that was a big part of Borderlands. The actual games.
There's a ton of humor. There's the obvious sort of funny side, sort of like geeky, nerdy sidekick to Reese. His accountant friend, the guy who actually comes sort of filters out the money from Hyperion to get this vault key, and obviously a coward, and Reese is this just douchebag, full of himself kind of character, and Fiona is this badass vault hunter. So there's a lot of dynamics there with the characters, a lot of fun dialogue, and just, there's a lot of physical comedy as well in it. Like, you call in one of these loader bots, and you can imagine what happens when you call that in. Yeah. Obviously, it smashes something. There's that kind of humor as well. And yes, the way that Telltale design their characters marriages incredibly well with the Borderlands universe. They have some things in common, but it looks different than a Borderlands game. But it looks, the look of it is great.
Wow. Actually, that was saying about sort of player choice. This reminds me of the Pillar of Eternity. So they're playing homage to like Baldur's Gate and everything like that. Sort of like top-down view, cast of characters. But there are moments in it, rather than doing cutscenes, they do these really beautiful sketches with text beside, and it's very much like the old Choose Your Own Adventure. But God knows that's one thing I didn't ask, how many pieces they had to do, because that changes obviously depending on who's in your cast, what choices you've made and everything like that.
Yeah.
But it's like, pick three, and this is how it plays out, basically. And it was true enough, they said the idea is we want people to use their imagination, even though we're creating this wonderful fantasy world. We want people to engage with it, and it does work better than a cutscene. I mean, I was reading through the text as they were showing during the presentation, and it just sparked something in my head.
It's also that thing with a top-down game. If you're gonna go down and do a cinematic with
it just actually breaks the immersion.
It actually does in a strange way. Taking you out of it is better for immersion than sort of taking you down to
so. Yeah, definitely. Just really look forward to that. But so it's episodic. Is it episodic?
Absolutely. The first episode out this summer, so very soon. I gotta say, I'm gonna buy the full package to get the episode as soon as possible. What I tend to do is like I get that, but I wait to play it
for everything to come out.
Yeah, because you know, it's like 2.5 hours maybe each episode, and to me that's just like, I want more.
Yeah.
So sometimes I just wait until the whole season's out and I'll get them all. I'm doing that with season 2 of Walking Dead and The Wolf Among Us. The Wolf Among Us obviously season finale is just upon us, so I'll get to play that very soon. Not sure I'll have the patience to do that with Tales from the Borderlands, because I do enjoy a funny game as well, and I think this one is one that I'll probably have to get
straight away. Yeah. It was that thing about having a 2-hour episode and then having to wait maybe a couple of months. You sort of forget like the little nuances, the little details of the gameplay. And that's why I did the same thing with season 1 Walking Dead, and it has much more of an impact if you play it straight through.
Absolutely, yeah.
Though I had to unfortunately delete the season 1 off my iPad because it was just hogging so much space. Download season 2. Obviously, it migrates the data, migrates the decisions. And because I wasn't on it anymore, I just went, okay, I'm going to randomize it. And within about 30 seconds, my interest just switched right off because I knew I wasn't playing my version of the game. So what, unfortunately, I'll have to do is wait until all season 2.
That's going to be a problem for me with season 2.
Yeah.
Played it on PS3, I think, the first one. And I'm not sure I want to play it on PS3 now. Probably not. Because,
no.
Yeah, I'm on the new gen.
You're on the new gen thing. Yeah. But it's Walking Dead with all.
I was kind of thinking about getting it for the Vita though.
Yeah, makes sense. The touch, I think, touch screen interface works perfectly for this.
Yeah.
I downloaded Walking Dead on 360 just to try it out, and it just felt wrong somehow. Yeah. I don't know why. Using the controller to try and pick something was just, the interface was just wrong. Yeah. And with touch screens,
I think if you started playing it on touch, you probably want to continue to do that. Yeah. But you know, for me, who started on it, it's fine. I mean, it works because it's not a point and click, so it works with a controller because there's not that many things to do.
Yeah. I guess it works better for those few moments when you're having to shoot things. Yeah. It works better with a controller. And it's a little bit finicky with a touch screen, but I'm willing to take that hit for everything else.
Yeah.
I think I wish Sony would get round and release that bloody 64 gig card for Vita in the UK, because there's so many games on that system. You probably realised that
I'll fill up my 32 gig one. Yeah.
But we're huge Vita fans here, Vita supporters at Gamereactor.
Absolutely.
And we would be playing it a lot more, and we'd be buying a lot more if we just had some goddamn space in the
card. I mean, just the fact that, you know, we're all on PS Plus. We can't even, we don't have space to download all the games we're getting for free.
Yeah.
Come on, Sony, give us bigger cards. But I mean, of course, it's one of those problems where we're bitching about something because we like it so much that we want to have so many games on it. And of course, you can of course delete the games and get something else, and you can download it again.
You're not. I mean, I have on my biggest screen. I think it's TXK. So it's TXK, Spelunky, Lumines, Electronic Symphony, and at the moment Virtual Tennis, and there's one Hotline Miami, and I think that's it. There might be one more, but it's like there's a core set of games that I'm never going to delete because they're so good to just drop in for a wee while or play for a few hours. And then I've got the longer titles like Persona 4. Well, they got me. Persona 4 I will play through, but that is one of those RPGs, and this is simply, I bought it through word of mouth, and I think that's a great thing about Vita. I mean, I think I picked it up because Nick had talked about the Vita so much, and it's one of those few purchases I've got that I've never regretted spunking that amount of money on. But Persona 4, again, word of mouth, bunch of friends of mine played it again. Now, I'm the type of guy who would do a JRPG or RPG. Do it once, never touch it again, because your story's done. You're finished. And maybe I'll come back to it years later to try, but for the most part, done, disregarded. Friends of mine have played through that game about 3 times now. They've sunk something crazy like 200 hours into it, and I'm barely scratching the surface. I'm maybe about 4 or 5 hours into it. It takes off probably most of my memory card, but it's a game I won't delete simply because of that. So a 64 gig card would solve that problem. Different
story here. I've actually I'm dedicating some space of it on Final Fantasy 6 and Final Fantasy 7. So there's that side of it as well, and those are games that, of course, I played them, but I want them on my Vita as well.
Yeah,
and I've got the Sega Mega Drive collection on it as well. There's, you know.
Oh, hang on. So the Sega Mega Drive collection's on Vita?
Yeah, you can buy the PSP game, and then you get like 30 games.
I didn't even know this.
You got to get that.
No, seriously. What? So what? Are you talking like
Sonic?
Are you going to Streets of
Phantasy
Rage?
Star?
Streets of Rage on it?
I don't think Streets of Rage is on it actually.
I nearly lost
Altered
it there.
Beast is on there. Columns. There's a lot of the you know, there's the Alex Kidd and the Shannon Castle. Ton of games. I think the Shinobi games are on there as well.
I have got to get. I didn't even know that.
Vector
seriously,
Man.
I'm only getting to know this now.
I think Rystar is on there as well. Yeah.
I mean, that's the Vita for you. It's basically AAA Vita exclusives. It is retro stuff. So you got PS1, PSP. You've also got all the indie titles as well. It's just the best system for everything, for the crossroads.
Yeah,
basically.
And basically, you know, I'm not dogging like playing on tablets and phones.
Yeah.
That's great, and I do that as well. But I do enjoy the fact that we can play, you know, core games, hardcore games, on the go, great quality. I love that. And yeah.
Do you think? I mean, this is one thing I wonder, because the Viga's not been as successful probably as Sony wants. They haven't really thought about overhauling it. Now we have had the slim version.
Yeah,
but
and that is, I got some hands on that this week.
It's nice, isn't it?
It's I mean, it's almost too thin. I'm not sure about getting something that is that light and that thin, just because it's
snap it like a biscuit.
It felt wrong in my hands. I've played so much Vita that when I picked it up, it felt a little bit wrong. You know what I mean? I'm sure you get used to it and it's fine, but it certainly holds a little bit differently because you don't have the same sort of depth to it, you know? Yeah.
What do you think about the screen?
I gotta say, like, for me, it wasn't that big of a difference, no? But obviously the OLED screen is a little bit more high tech, a little bit nicer. But you know, I certainly wouldn't. For what I do on the PS Vita, I think the new one is perfectly fine to have. It's not a thing that really kills it for me. And I would probably say that for me, it's a greater difference the fact that it's a little bit different to hold. Yeah. And you don't have the same depth in the indentations in the back, so you don't hold it quite the same way. You know? So that makes it a little bit different.
The Vita is almost a machine where you have to plan to take it out. You know, if I'm bringing this with me, I'm bringing a bag.
Yeah.
Whereas the slim version, pocket. Yeah. Even though you'd be worried about scratching that gorgeous screen.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things. I got a model just before they released it for us to do a review on it, and it's very rare for me to go with tech. I need a new version of something I already have. Yeah. But I was sorely tempted to go out and buy that. And you know what? It may happen. If it does, I'm going to get the original Vita. I'm going to get a glass box. I'm going to put that on display in my room. I'm actually going to like idolize it because it's so awesome.
Yeah. And you know, everyone who's got a PS4, you should seriously consider getting a Vita because it's the perfect partner. There's so many games that are cross-buy, but it's also the fact that you can remote play in your own home. That's a brilliant thing. I'm looking forward to the PlayStation TV as well, so I can remote play from my living room to my bedroom and second TV, PS4. That's going to be great. But in the meantime, remote play is perfectly fine. Of course, some games, you know, much better to play with the DualShock 4 than with the Vita controls. But you know, most of the games sort of it works.
Yeah. I get that. It's such a shame.
And talking to Jim Ryan, he actually said that they'd been surprised by the uptake of remote play. Now, looking at sort of the metrics of it, this is something that they weren't expecting that people would really take to it as much as they have. So they're really seeing that as you know, one of the killer apps of the PS Vita that apparently, now of course that is the hardcore of the hardcore, the ones that picked up the PS4 first day and had a PS Vita. But they're seeing from those, I mean, it's an important indication that this is something that players like. When the most hardcore take to it and use it a lot, that is something that can transfer to a larger audience.
Because a lot of us do have, it's just one screen in the living room, and sometimes you are fighting over it and have the option to do that. But I mean, that's Wii U's selling points. Is
absolutely. And it's almost as simple with remote play as with the Wii U. Not quite as simple, but it's certainly not difficult to pull off. I mean, it's a couple of seconds and you're playing. So
it's such a shame that Minecraft, the cross sort of save is locked to PS3 and Vita rather than PS4 and Vita. Because my PS3 has been replaced by the 4. I mean, still in the house, but I don't obviously turn it on. I have it switched, plugged in as much these days. And I would love that idea of playing Minecraft on 4 and then carrying on the creation when I'm out and traveling about, or even just using it as a second.
It's not quite the same game, I think. They're doing it a little bit differently for new gen. So
the remote play for me is the only way I'm going to be basically doing that.
Yeah.
But sorry, this is actually turned into a Vita fan service show.
Get yourself a Vita.
There you go. Recommendation: stop listening to us talk about the Vita. Just get it. You will not regret it. I honestly.
But it's also because we're on the road now, so obviously that's in our minds. We've got our Vitas with us. They're all charging, and we're playing them. Playing them before we go to sleep. So. But I didn't play a lot of. I tried a little bit of Murasaki Baby on the Vita this week, but not a ton. I mean, that's a little bit sad, but there wasn't really that many new games announced for the Vita.
Yeah, that was a shame. Part of Sony's conference was very much like you said, like the emphasis on the role play and the bundles and stuff like that. We were hoping for at least maybe one AAA announcement on it, not happening.
But perhaps that is how it's going to evolve as well. It's going to be those smaller titles that are cross-buy. That's coming out both Vita, PS4. A lot of the Devolver titles, for instance, is going to do that. So there's certainly a lot of cool games coming, but not quite as high profile as they had at the start of PC.
I mean, I'm happy having a portable indie machine.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
I am unfortunately now entering into unknown territory, uncharted waters. Because my iPad is finally run out of power. So we're going to have to rely on these two fellas to flag us when we're running out of time. But
I'm getting mine.
Good, cool. Right, we're going to have to share that.
The Mini.
But Vita fan service aside, that was E3 for us. Crazily, I found it, other than yesterday's little snowballing effect of the missed appointments, a relatively calm and chilled out E3. It might be just from the experience of doing it 3 times in a row, but just the general vibe. Even the show floors didn't feel as busy. I mean, there's occasional crossroads like at the Ubisoft booth that usually happens where the corridor shrinks and it becomes a manic fight to actually get through.
I think I heard. I mean, I'm not. We're all focused on going to our next appointment and doing our things. I don't really take count of how many people are here or things like that. But from what I heard, people said it felt a little bit less crowded. Not as many people as it usually is. And certainly a lot of the booths felt a lot softer, fewer titles, not as big titles as it usually is. And it felt like an in-between year in that sense. A lot of good games, of course. But it's one of those things that E3 you can't have. Indies doesn't fill the space of the lack of AAA or the sort of the mid-core sort of segment of games, and those are the ones that are not there anymore. Lots of great indie games, but they just don't take up the physical space of those games. So I should be talking about. I also stopped by the Indicate booth. And actually got talking to Nathan Wella from Capybara Games about Below. That game that's just gorgeous. That's gorgeous, and it's lovely, and I love what they're doing, and it's going to take the time it takes. Hopefully they can finish it this year. Otherwise, we're fine to wait until next.
That's the thing as usual. Delay it as long as you need, just because we know it's going to be a better experience.
And it's also like it's almost refreshing that it's not going to be early access. There's no Kickstarter. They're not letting people know stuff ahead of time. They're doing a game that they like to do. themselves and take it or leave it. You know, I'm gonna take it, I think, because it's just,
Actually, a slight plug for the print magazine in the UK anyway. As any UK reader knows, we run a art spread in the magazine each month where we talk to the artists behind concept art for games that are unsung heroes, unfortunately. Usually these things are given away on a USB stick at preview events and never really used anywhere, which is a real shame. But Below looks so stunning. I've actually talked to them about running that in the magazine. Actually, maybe for next issue in August or sometime after that. So look forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely. A game that, I mean, the game looks like a piece of art. Like just looking at a screenshot, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And it's really not. I mean, it looks retro, but the amount of detail that's gone into the characters and things that go on screen, and the way you're pulled out so far, it's just captivating, absolutely captivating. So another game there as well, something that I never heard of, something that I've never seen before. It was part of the little Oya booth. Oya, of course, heavily invested in the indie scene. A game called Thralled, about slavery. There's this game where you're the mother and you've got a child that you're carrying. You're trying to get away from your slavers in Brazil, the 18th century, I believe it was set in. And the idea is that the puzzles where you have to put down the kid to solve a puzzle, and the kid starts screaming when you put it down. That'll attract ghosts, and you gotta so you gotta rush to complete the puzzle, pick it up, hold it close to prevent it from screaming, and then progress through the game. So there's that there's that tension of it's a puzzle game, but there's that tension as well. And I accidentally, you sort of imply in the interview, I said so, but it's still a game. There's still fun in it. It's like, well, it's not really about fun, this game. It's one of those games, and I like the fact that it is. It's dealing with a serious thing, and the creative director was from Portugal, and he feels like Portugal, of course, being one of the nations that had the biggest, most to blame for the transatlantic slave trade, carrying a lot of slaves over to Brazil, that sort of thing. It's set in Brazil, and he says that. It's one of those things where in Portugal you don't talk about it at all. They have this shame that they're carrying.
In their history,
where they don't like to talk about it, and it's something that he feels like we need to talk about this to prevent ourselves from ever doing something like this again. So very interesting interview that will be up on GRTV when we have time for it. Beautiful game as well. And there were a few interesting games there in the Oya corner. Also got a chance to talk to Kelly Santiago, who's sort of heading that sort of publisher relation at Oya. As you may know, Oya is now sort of migrating onto other Android platforms, so it's becoming more of a virtual console perhaps than an actual console, which I think is nice. And I was talking to her about the fact that things are changing at the bigger consoles. Of course, it's not as open as on the Oya, where you can put anything out immediately. But still, I think things like Oya sort of help change the landscape, the greater landscape of what we can expect from how we can get these indie titles onto various platforms. And it is that is an interesting thing, and there is so many great creative ideas out there, but getting them across to players, across to platforms where they can be seen, is always going to be a challenge.
If
you haven't proven yourself, if this is your first project, it's very difficult. And we talked about Towerfall Ascension, a game that came out on the Oya. Towerfall came out on Oya and got noticed, got a lot of positive buzz. Now it's on PS4. Now it's on PC. Now it's available to a greater audience. So even if we're Oya is sort of like, it's flopped. Let's be honest about it. It's not going to be a big thing. it still can be important as that sort of thing where people can get noticed and cut through the noise and get a publishing deal, get there is a role to play there still.
Now we're running short on time. I just wanted to bring Dorian about this. It's a very, very short point, and this is again sort of on the same lines. But given that problem they're raising about Steam, about it being incredibly hard to be seen on Steam because there's that many games, do you think there is a solution for that, for a better view of a wider collection of games? Is it just changing maybe the storefront completely? So
the thing about it is that Valve is just kind of, here is the platform. You deal with it. Like the early access stuff is not really regulated like I think it should be. I think if you're on early access, you shouldn't be able to discount your game.
Okay.
Then that's my view, because to discount a game, it should be a game. Early access isn't a game; it's beta. Basically. So basically, what I think would need to happen is that Valve would need to step in and kind of regulate their stuff a little bit tighter. Greenlight is good because you get your game in early, and you can use social media to be seen. But there's no real way now, like it was like 2 years ago, when you had a great game and you got discounted. I mean, everybody knew about you. But now it's in the publisher's hands. The actual devs have they discount their game themselves. And that just means that every day there's hundreds of games. So it's
because you get top tier stuff, word of mouth will obviously help a lot.
I think that's where they need to sort of evolve it to integrate more of that sort of recommendation from friends, looking at your playlist. I mean, there is that sort of functionality.
They're starting to do that with the Steam tags. And they added a new pop-down recommended for you, recommended by friends. And cool. Similar to what you've been playing. And it kind of works.
It kind of works because always with that kind of system, I mean, it's you have the same thing in the Xbox storefront. It's not like it's recommending me the perfect game based on what I've played before. But these are the kind of things that they need to sort of highlight for players, so that there are more ways of getting to see a game than just this is what's selling most. This is what was released the last day, because that's the only thing that shows up.
Basically, what I think they need to do is to incentivize the review system, so that you get something out of leaving a good review that gets thumbs up, and giving more weight to positive versus negative reviews. On that note, we've got 1 minute left. I think people have been asking about the swag table.
Where I say over.
What I think we're going to do is we're going to pack as much of this stuff into our suitcases as we can and bring it back.
A selection.
Yes, and we're going to go through the chat. Everybody that's been active in the chat during today's stream is eligible to get some swag. Either we send it out to everybody.
How do we decide?
We're just going to take the names, randomly select.
All right,
that sounds so
and
good.
Send it out. I mean, we could do some sort of competition or stuff, but it's too early.
What we maybe do is
people hopefully haven't changed their names on the stream from something to something other than what they use on Gamereactor. But I'm gonna talk to people in the chat now that when we're done and lock that all Stay
down.
on.
Don't lock out just yet.
But that's us. If you've been here with us during the week, thanks very much for tuning in. Gamereactor Live will continue in its regular slot of the Danish studio at some point in the future.
At some point in the future, we're going to take a week or two off completely after
to recover.
E3. And then I guess the idea is that we're going to be live streaming once or twice a week for a couple of months, and then we'll return.
Just over the summer months,
when school's back's on, maybe the live stream will be on a little bit more often than during the summer. We're going to have a little bit of a
rethink of it.
And we'll probably return to our usual schedule of everyday streaming sometime later in the year when the big releases start hitting.
But yes, that is us from E3. Thanks very much for tuning in. Obviously, We'll have video interviews appearing on the website, your local website, over the coming days and weeks. We'll also be having some hands-on impressions, previews up on the site as well. Check us out on Twitter, as well as Facebook, YouTube as well, for GRTV content. Online.
Smart TV?
What?
Your smart TV?
The smart TV as well, on iPad edition, as well as print. And yeah, wherever you want to hear about video game news, come to us.
We're all over the place.
But we're all over the place. We're splooshed all over the place. Guys, thanks very much indeed. Any final closing comments?
Well, I haven't been able to do this all week, but see you on the flip side. Cut the graphics. Because I'm not sitting there.